I don't know where to even start with this. I met my now ex-girlfriend 4 years ago in college. Until now, she seemed like the type of woman I would want to marry. Extremely kind, genuine, and generally a joy to be around. My big sister and her husband had a daughter at the beginning of our relationship. I couldn't be happier to be an uncle. She was the cutest thing in the world to me. I tried to be that cool uncle to her and would always try to find time for her. My sister would regularly bring her over to my place for me to babysit when she had something going on. My girlfriend, to my knowledge, also seemed to get along fine with her and wouldn't be against babysitting her with me. The best moment I shared with her was when my sister showed me a drawing my niece made about me in kindergarten. I was literally on the verge of tears seeing that. A year ago, my world turned upside down when my sister gave me a call crying. That one sentence still rings in my head from time to time. She told me she was diagnosed with leukemia. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. The past year was really tough for all of us. I spent most of my free time with my sister and brother-in-law in the hospital. Seeing that poor girl with all those tubes attached to her really broke my heart. I would regularly bring over balloons and make those balloon animals for her. I learned how to make those while working at a carnival when I was young. As a result, I spent less time with my girlfriend. She seemed like she understood until her cancer grew worse. From Saturday to Sunday, I was either in the hospital or drinking myself to sleep. One day, my girlfriend just seemed to ignore me on our 3-year anniversary. I bought her flowers, a cake, and made her a card. My girlfriend, on the other hand, didn't get me anything. I pressed her about it, and that's when she said something that probably was a sign of what was to come. She just told me, "Well, it doesn't seem like you care, so why should I get something for someone who cares more about a child that's going to die anyway?" I don't know what she was expecting. Long story short, I threatened to kick her out and to tell everyone I knew, including my sister, who is a close friend of hers, what she just told me. She apologized and told me she wasn't thinking straight, and something like this would never happen again. I eventually forgave her, and we moved on. My niece passed away last week, and it's been the worst period of my life. I've basically been crying myself to sleep every day, and have been spending a lot of time with my sister to console her. Something that caught me off guard, though, is that my girlfriend seemed a bit too happy at the news of her passing. She just smiled and said, "I'm so happy she isn't suffering anymore and is in a much better place now," with a big grin on her face. Yesterday, I overheard her talking with one of her friends over the phone. I just came home from work, and I guess she didn't hear me walk in. I just heard, "A real man wouldn't cry unless it's his child dying." That caught me off guard, and I kept on listening. She said some more awful things about me being a crybaby and how I shouldn't be so attached to a kid that isn't mine and so on. I loudly coughed to get her attention and just saw the life draining from her face. She tried the whole "let me explain" BS, and I just told her to pack what's needed and I'll get her dad to come pick her up. After a solid hour of begging, she finally gave up and packed her things into a suitcase. Before leaving, she tried spitting at me but just ended up spitting on herself. Her mom called me a few hours later, begging me to give her a second chance. I know I shouldn't have said this, but I just told her to go frick herself and her mentally unstable daughter. I basically emptied half a bottle of Jack Daniels that night and went to bed. I woke up today with texts from my sister. She told me my ex told her everything that happened and understood me kicking her out, but I should consider giving her a second chance. She told me my ex seemed sincere in her apology to her. She asked what Lily would want, my niece. Neil, that kind of broke me. My niece loved my girlfriend and would always run to her and ask her to play Barbie with her. I feel like I shouldn't be upset if my sister forgave her, but at the same time, I feel hurt by her calling me a crybaby. Before the diagnosis, I've never really cried in front of her, and her comments hurt me deeply. I feel like I can never open up to anyone again, let alone her. Am I being irrational here? Should I forgive her? Am I the idiot? Edit. I just want to thank all of you. Seeing how my story touched so many people truly means the world to me. I originally posted on here to get another perspective on how I could have handled things better, and if I was being irrational by kicking out my ex. I couldn't bring this up to my family for obvious reasons, and I have a friend who posted on this subreddit regarding something similar, and he told me he received some not-so-good advice but also a ton of great advice. I'm so glad I chose to post on here. The amount of messages I have received is overwhelming. I want to thank those for sharing their personal experiences and ways they dealt with grief with me. I apologize for taking so long to respond to messages. I've received over 100 messages to date. I want to give each message the same amount of care you guys showed me. I have received several screenshots of people donating to leukemia research charities, and I'm truly beyond grateful. I don't deserve any of this. The past 48 hours have definitely been some of the darkest and bleakest of my life. You guys helped me so much. I wish there was a way I could thank you all personally, but I would be here till the end of time doing that. I'll be posting an update as soon as I've cut the alcohol, and me and my family are in a better place mentally. I owe it to you guys. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart now. For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. NTA. Is it possible that your sister didn't get the full story? If they are friends, your ex might not have told her everything. I'm sorry for your family's loss. I can't begin to imagine the world of pain you are all experiencing right now. It is better to cry than to bottle it all up. You do what you need to do to put one foot in front of the other. However, you should probably lay off the alcohol. Nothing is ever solved at the bottom of a glass. The last thing you need right now is to become alcohol dependent, followed by full-scale addiction. Comment 2, NTA. She showed you her true colors a year ago when she said that awful thing about a child who is going to die anyway. Her talking so openly about her contempt over you, showing emotions over your family member who just died, is just next level cold. She has no empathy. She was literally smiling when talking about Lily's death. Don't take her back. I have no doubt she gave half-truths over what she really said to them and twisted it around. She's shown you who she really is, so believe her. Now for the update, thank you for sticking around for this update. So, where do I even begin? After the whole mess with my ex, things seemed to calm down for a bit. I was wrong. My sister's husband, who I thought was a rock during the whole ordeal with my niece, turned out to be anything but. He started acting out, staying late at work, and my sister was worried sick. She confided in me that she found messages on his phone from another woman. I couldn't believe it. The guy who was supposed to be there for my sister was cheating on her while she was grieving our niece. It got worse. He cleaned out their joint bank account. My sister was left with nothing. I was furious. I wanted to confront him, but my sister begged me not to. She was scared of what he might do. I respected her wishes, but it ate me up inside. I helped her out financially, but the betrayal was a heavy blow. Then, as if things couldn't get any more complicated, my ex showed up at my door one evening, out of the blue, crying and apologizing. She said she was pregnant. My head was spinning. She claimed it was mine, but I had my doubts. I told her we needed a paternity test. She agreed, but the waiting was torture. The results came back. The baby wasn't mine. I felt a mix of relief and anger. She had cheated on me, and then tried to trap me with a pregnancy that wasn't even mine. I told her to leave and never come back. She left, but not without making a scene for the whole neighborhood to see. In the midst of all this, my sister decided to file for divorce. It was a messy process. Her husband fought her on every little thing, but eventually she won full custody of their other kids and the house. It was a small victory in a sea of losses. I've been trying to pick up the pieces of my life. I've been going to therapy, trying to deal with the grief and the betrayal. It's hard. Some days are better than others. I've been throwing myself into work, trying to keep busy, but there's always that lingering feeling of sadness. My sister and I have grown closer through all of this. We lean on each other a lot. She's been my rock, and I hope I've been hers. We talk about my niece a lot, remembering the good times. It helps a little. I've learned a lot about people in these past few months. Some people will let you down when you least expect it. But there are also those who will stand by you no matter what. I'm trying to focus on the latter. Thank you for reading. My family sided with my ex of 3 years and called me heartless. So I cut them off and showed them what losing a son feels like. I made this account today because my sister and parents are acting like I'm in the wrong, and I genuinely don't see how. My 19-year-old male ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old female of 3 years broke up with me Sunday night over text. She told me that she felt like my lack of ambition was holding her back. and she needed to move on with her life because she felt like I didn't value her. When she sent me that, I just sent okay and blocked her, and fell asleep shortly after. I did not block her friends and had loads of messages yesterday morning when I woke up. They were asking me to unblock her and to talk to her. My sister, 20-year-old female, is also friends with my ex-girlfriend, and she told me that my ex was hurt by my sudden blocking, and that she still wanted to talk to me for closure and wanted to make sure I was okay. I told my sister that I was okay and that I didn't want to talk to my ex, but would like it if she could tell her I appreciate her checking on me. My sister was not happy with this and told me that it was a hard decision for my ex, and she just wants to talk to me. I again told her I was fine and that I'd rather not. My sister then told me that I'm acting insanely calm for being broken up with someone I was with for 3 years. I again told her I was fine. She asked me if I cried, and I told her that I didn't, and I just fell asleep listening to music. My sister told me that she's concerned about my lack of emotion and told me that my behavior isn't normal. I told her that I'm not obligated to cry over anything, and I think it's weird that she was acting like I was. My sister once again told me that it wouldn't hurt to have one conversation with my ex because she was still worried about me and wanted to stay friends. I once again told her that I was fine and didn't want to talk to her. She told me that my lack of compassion is psychotic. That pissed me off, so I just started ignoring her, and she eventually left me alone. This morning when I woke up, my sister sent me a bunch of text messages again, so I just blocked her, and because of this, she went and told our parents, and they are upset with me for blocking my ex without communicating first. They said that we've been together long enough, and they thought of her as a second daughter. I was just aggravated at this point and told them that I'd appreciate if they mind their business, but they didn't stop. So I told them that I wouldn't hesitate to block them too if they continue, which caused them to stop. They apologized to me and told me that they didn't mean any harm, but just felt like it was a little inconsiderate of me to just block her without talking about it first. But they won't press me to talk to her if I don't want to. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She still wanted to talk to me for closure and wanted to make sure I was okay. She doesn't care that you're okay. She's offended that you don't care about the breakup, and now she needs more from you. Don't give it to her. They apologized to me and told me that they didn't mean any harm, but just felt like it was a little inconsiderate of me to just block her. And I would tell them it's a little inconsiderate for them to confront me about gossip they're being told behind my back. Comment 2. I returned a coffee maker to the store the other day, and when I handed them the receipt and the product, they gave me back my money, took my item, and told me to have a nice day. It was unnerving the way I had an interaction and got exactly what I wanted. It gave me returner's remorse. They didn't even try to argue or fight for me to keep it. Like, do you even want me to have a coffee maker? They must be psychopaths for immediately honoring my wishes without complaint. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more of this mess. So, after I blocked my sister, things went from bad to worse. My parents, who were already on edge, decided to have a family meeting without me. I found out because my cousin, who's been staying with us for a while, let it slip. They were talking about how they should handle me and my attitude problem. I couldn't believe it. They were acting like I was some kind of project to be fixed. A couple of days later, my ex's mom showed up at our house. She was crying, saying her daughter was heartbroken and that I owed her an explanation. My parents invited her in, and they all sat there talking about me like I wasn't even there. I stayed in my room, but I could hear everything. They were saying things like how I was always the quiet one, how they should have seen this coming, and how they needed to help me open up. I was fuming. It felt like everyone was against me. But then my cousin came to talk to me. He said he understood why I did what I did and that he had my back. I was relieved to have someone on my side, at least. The next day, my ex showed up. She wanted to talk, but I refused to come out of my room. My cousin was trying to mediate, saying it would be good for me to clear the air, but I didn't want to give in. I could hear her outside my door, pleading, but I just turned up my music and tried to block it out. Then, my cousin did something unexpected. He took my phone and unblocked my ex and my sister. He said it was for my own good, that I needed to face this head on. I was so angry I couldn't even speak. I felt betrayed. My ex started texting me, saying she just wanted to understand why I blocked her. My sister was apologizing, saying she was just worried about me. but I didn't respond to any of them. I felt like I was being manipulated, like they were all trying to control how I felt and acted. A few days later, my cousin sat me down and told me he had something to confess. He said he'd been talking to my ex behind my back, that they'd been planning this intervention of sorts because they thought it would help. I was shocked. I trusted him, and he'd been lying to me the whole time. I didn't know what to do. I felt like everyone was against me, like I was the villain in their story. But I didn't see it that way. I was just trying to protect myself, to move on from a relationship that wasn't working. I didn't need their pity or their help. Now I'm just trying to keep to myself. I go to work, come home, and stay in my room. I don't want to deal with any of them. I can't trust anyone, not even my own family. They think they're helping, but they're just making everything worse. Thanks for reading. My husband compares me to his ex for 21 years and belittles my childcare job. So I take the kids and leave him jobless and alone. I, 46-year-old female, have spent the past 21 years in a very emotionally repressive marriage with my husband, 50-year-old male. There always seemed to be something new that I fell short of. We have 6 kids together, 19-year-old male, 17-year-old female, 14-year-old female, 13-year-old male, 11-year-old female, and 10-year-old male. My husband had wanted 6 kids, and I wanted 4 at the most. I was made to feel bad about the fact that I had made him compromise with 5 kids, and our youngest son was a surprise baby. His LDS church family and friends looked down on the use of pain medication to cheat situations. They said that the mother's body was built for natural birth, so my husband was upset I opted for an epidural with our 5th and 6th. He refused to consider any form of outside childcare for our kids and insisted I do not work. I felt pressured to be the perfect housewife who never made the same dish twice in a week, ever. But worst of all is the fact that after our first child was born, I learned the extent of my husband's obsession with his ex. I'm medium height and have to work to keep fit. His ex was tall and rail-thin, and they shared a love of skiing. They broke up when she was 23 and he was 24, and he's always in conversation with friends, described ideal beautiful women as that 22-or-so-year-old who is tall, super thin, and super athletic. When I told him to stop describing his ex as his definition of beauty, he'd say, "Your inability to change your height is your problem." He asked if he should start claiming that Boise, Idaho is the best vacation spot ever, better than Paris and Milan because Boise's my hometown, and we wouldn't want to hurt my feelings for the sake of objectivity now. My husband was laid off in late 2020, got a job in May 2021. He was laid off from that job December 2023 and is having ego issues because everybody interviewing him is younger than him. I had the opportunity to provide childcare for 2 neighborhood kids, but he shot the opportunity down, saying the money I'd make is insignificant. I tried to help him manage his job applications. That's where the big fight happened. He ranted that there's no way a 36-year-old knows close to what he knows about the industry. So there's no way he's going to waste time being interviewed by a mid-30s idiot recruiter. And then he started saying that this would be easier if I had some earning potential. I was angry because he wanted a traditional dynamic, and now this. I said it's funny he thinks a 36-year-old knows nothing but that his ex, back when she was 23, already was this all-knowing genius, not to mention gorgeous. He replied that she at least has things to capitalize off of. I replied that I'm done good luck finding his supermodel ideal as an unemployable 50-year-old. He screamed, "Thanks for kicking me when I'm down." Am I the idiot? I've often asked him how he'd feel if I started obsessing about the CEOs of the world compared to him. He claims that's completely different and another projection on my part. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Start taking online certification courses. Amazon has several. Get a degree, start an online business, get your own bank account, and start paying yourself for the services you provide. Stop telling him what you're going to do. With these types of patriarchal men, the best response is, "I hear you," and then go do your own thing. If they ask, "Do you agree?" I've said it doesn't matter, you're in charge for now. Comment 2. I could only read up to, "Your inability to change your height is your problem." I am a man, and I couldn't read anymore. What a revolting piece of shoot. What a waste of oxygen that man is. I am sorry, I truly and genuinely want to apologize on behalf of men that you had the misfortune of knowing him. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. Well, a lot has happened since I last wrote. So, remember how I mentioned my husband's job situation? Things got worse. He started spending more time at home, which you'd think would be good, right? Wrong. He became more irritable, snapping at the kids for the smallest things. I tried to be understanding, but it was like walking on thin ice every day. Then out of nowhere, he announced he was leaving. Just like that. Said he needed to find himself, and that he couldn't do it here, with all the noise. The kids were devastated, and honestly, so was I. Even after everything, it felt like a punch in the gut. He packed a bag and left, didn't say where he was going or when he'd be back. The house felt empty without him, but not necessarily in a bad way. It was quieter, sure, but the tension was gone. I started to realize how much of myself I'd been holding back, trying to be the perfect wife and mother he wanted. Without him there, I started to breathe a little easier. But then, the surprise. A few days after he left, I got a call from a woman claiming to be his ex. She said she'd heard about our situation and felt guilty. Turns out they'd been in touch all these years. She'd been his confidant, his shoulder to cry on. And she was tired of it, said she wanted to clear her conscience. I was furious. All those years feeling like I wasn't enough, and he'd been emotionally cheating on me with her. I felt like a fool. The kids could tell something was up, but I didn't have the heart to tell them the whole truth. They were already dealing with enough. With him gone and no second income, I had to make some changes. I started providing childcare again, despite his previous objections. It wasn't much, but it helped. The kids pitched in too, doing odd jobs for neighbors. We were a team, and it felt good to be working together. Then, just when I thought things were settling down, he came back. 2 weeks to the day after he left. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. He said he'd made a mistake, that he missed us, that he was sorry. But something in me had shifted. I wasn't the same person he'd left behind. I told him he could stay in the guest room until he figured out his next move, but that things were going to be different. No more walking on eggshells, no more trying to live up to an impossible standard. If he wanted to be part of this family, he'd have to accept us as we are. The kids were cautious around him, not sure what to make of his return. I could see he was trying, but it was like he didn't know how to be a part of the family without being in control. And then, the final straw. I found out he'd been offered a job while he was gone. A good one, too. But he turned it down because it was offered by a woman in her 30s. His pride wouldn't let him accept it. That's when I knew we couldn't go back to the way things were. I sat him down and told him it was over. For real this time. I couldn't be married to someone who valued his ego over our family's well-being. He didn't take it well, but I stood my ground. The kids and I had managed without him for 2 weeks. We could do it for good. It's been hard, adjusting to life as a single parent. But there's a sense of relief, too. I'm no longer trying to be someone I'm not. And the kids, they're resilient. We're finding our way together. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!